I've been so nervous to make this video, and I have been putting it off for a very long time. And as you guys can see in the title, and then obviously we posted that we are expecting, but that didn't come without its challenges. And I have been wanting to post this video for almost a year now for you guys. I've been thinking about it and how I wanted to say things and how it was going to come out and how it was going to come across, and I just typed out everything. So it's a long video, so grab something to drink and have a seat, get comfortable. First things first, I am going to pray because that's the only thing I know how to do to get through this. I'm going to try not to cry. I have gathered like pictures and videos and things to share with you guys as well, so I'm kind of on this side of the screen, so hopefully this side of the screen can show you guys just like the story really. As I was going through my miscarriage, I watched a ton of these videos. As I was trying to conceive again, I was watching a ton of these videos, and they brought me so much peace and so much hope. And so I binge watched them all day, so that's my prayer for this video for you guys. So if you guys don't want to pray, that's really fine. You can skip ahead. But for me and the people who believe in God and that He can work miracles, please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, I would just like to thank you for this day. Thank you for the breath in my lungs. Thank you for all the beautiful people that are watching right now. I know that sometimes watching stuff like this and living through these things can be so difficult and can be so hard, but it's so beautiful that you have created this community of women, this community of people who have come together seeking advice, seeking love, seeking you. And I just pray that you just put your hand on them and in their situation, in their families, in their prayers, in their cries, in their tears, and let them know we are all standing behind each other, and then you are always looking out for us, standing behind us, lifting us up, walking beside us, listening to every tear, every cry, every tear of joy and happiness and love. And I just lift all the moms up who are struggling right now, all the moms who are pregnant right now and that are scared, and all the moms who did just have a healthy baby. Lord, we praise you and we love you always. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Woo. Okay, so I started crying already in the prayer. So bear with me. I have my chai, but I'm thinking I'm gonna grab water because this instantly gave me a headache. So let's get started. Okay, once again, I've got a bunch of stuff written on this computer, so please bear with me as I ramble on. I will try to be as clear and as concise as I can be, and if there needs to be like a further explanation or a diagram, I think I have gathered all those as well. If you guys need additional questions, please drop them below or seek your healthcare provider. What I'm saying like isn't advice for you guys. It's just my story, and I pray that it helps you all. So let's get started. So I have known that I always wanted to be a mom. If any of you guys knew me growing up, you know I had a doll wall in my room. It's like 50, almost 60 dolls that my parents had built. This like, it was a built-in, it was like shelves that were like beautifully in the corner of my room, that I could display like all these beautiful dolls. And like these were dolls from like Target, dolls from Wire, dolls that were like specially made, that were like hundreds of dollars, that were like had these beautiful like hair pieces, like any kind of doll. I loved them. I took care of them as if they were my own actual babies. I took them like on trips, on vacations, and people would come to me like, oh my god, a baby, and it's just a doll. Like I had these like real looking dolls, and I would like hold them, put them in car seats, wrap them in blankets. Like I had bottles. Like I was not playing around. Okay, when I went to the store, I was like, Mom, let's get baby clothes. Like I was serious. And as I got older, I was like, so when are we gonna have another sibling? Like, what's going on here? And I was like, but like she couldn't explain to me why she couldn't have any more. Basically, I was a C-section, I'm the baby of the family, and I was facing this way, and so they did an incision this way and I wouldn't come out still, and then another one, and basically it was just very dangerous for her to have more. So she couldn't really explain that to like a 6-year-old, right? So fast forward to college, high school and college, I started getting into babysitting and nannying. There was a family in Cincinnati, I went to Xavier in Cincinnati, that I absolutely adored. It was a young couple who had 3 boys, and at the time I started, the youngest was 8 months, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I absolutely fell in love with them. I was probably at their house like every weekend, maybe like a couple months after I started. I just loved being there. The kids were absolutely amazing, and I learned so much from them. From, you know, like the youngest was a baby, and so I was like doing all the baby things with him, you know, making sure he was bathed, and he got bottles still, and he still needed to be fed. He needed a lot of attention. Whereas like the middle one, you know, he needed like, you know, they need less from you. They can do things independently as they get older. So it was like very fun for me to, you know, hold the baby and then talk to the other 2 and then watch them play. Like, it was just very dynamic. It was so fun. The kids were angels, and I just loved them dearly, and I still do to this day. I'm pretty sure the oldest now is like 16. You think he just turned 16, got his license? Like, what the heck? And another one of the kids I babysat, she just got engaged. I'm so happy for her. So like, I just love these children. I've always loved children. They're just a joy to be around, and they just want to learn and love you and just soak in the world. I love looking at life through their eyes and the things they see that are beautiful. I just love children. And then my brother, as you know, he has 3 kids that I have loved ever since I laid eyes on them. And you guys have seen them on my channel as well. And so my love for children runs all the way back to the beginning. And I always knew that I wanted to be a mom. So fast forward to obviously finding the man. So I found my husband. If you guys didn't know, I met my husband on Tinder. We hit it off like immediately. Our values aligned. We both wanted to be married. We wanted kids. You know, Christian, we go to church together, like everything, just like it was a very God written story. And I always thought that was like a weird thing that people said, but it was so true and very, very evident and obvious, even till this day, very evident and obvious that it was a God written story with him. So we got there, right? And so I am 32 now, and we got married last year. So I'm like, oh geez, like my mom had her last baby when she was 30, her last, me. And I'm like, oh gosh, I'm like old. So I'm preparing my body, taking all of my vitamins, I'm working out. You guys are seeing all this, but like I was not talking about, on my channel anyway, I wasn't talking about like fertility and like how fast I wanted to get pregnant and stuff. Just cause like you never know. And so I can link all of my my prenatals and everything. I'll link everything I talk about below, and if I forget something, please let me know. Okay, so now we're gonna get into like more of the nitty-gritty stuff. So and I'm like reading off of here just so I don't skip like any of the details. So I have been tracking my ovulation with the Flow app, and I have been tracking it using that app probably for like 2 years or 3 years, and so it really got to know my cycle really well. And basically it just tells you like, you know, when your period's coming, and you know, the days you're ovulating, the days you're most fertile, the days you're not fertile at all. And then it's like asks you about like your weight, did you exercise? It's pretty inclusive app, and I love it, and it's pretty accurate. It'll say your period's coming tomorrow, and usually like 9 times out of 10 it would come the next day. So I was very, very reliant on that app, and it didn't let me down. It said I was ovulating or going to be ovulating on the night of my wedding. So I was like ecstatic that I wasn't going to be on my period, and that was a possibility that I could get pregnant then. And so I was like, oh, this is great. It's perfect. Like God set this man up for me. It's so perfect. And now we're getting married on the day of our first date, but 2 years later. Like it's just perfect. And now we're going to have a baby. We're going to conceive the baby on that same day. it's perfect, right? So we did the baby dance, we wait, and like I was having symptoms, like my I'm just gonna use all the terms and all the things. My nipples were very, very sore in the shower. Like the water was hitting it and I was like, oh geez, like what the heck is that about? That was happening, and they looked like kind of swollen, they were tender, and I was like, maybe I'm pregnant. And so I like took the test and everything, and like nothing came back, and I was like, that was very strange. But like, you know, we were very stressed out, and this is me and my husband talking through this. We're stressed out from the wedding, and like, you know, we're doing all these things that are so new, and traveling here and there, and our diets are different. Like, it's okay, we'll just try again. And so we got married in April, so then we tried again in May, and then I found out I was pregnant in June. So it was June 3rd, and I went and looked back, and I'll show you guys the pictures that I took. And like I said, I had spent a bunch of time on, or I didn't say it yet, I don't think. I spent a bunch of time on like trying to conceive, and like how to do the ovulation strips, how to do the pregnancy test, how to read them, when to take them. I was like diving into everything before the wedding. And so I had my ovulation strips, which I'll explain more about that at the end of this video. And I had my pregnancy test, and I was taking the little strips. And I got my positive pregnancy test randomly on did I say June 3rd? Yes, June 3rd, and I sent a picture to my 3 friends. I'm gonna say their names because they're not gonna mind. I sent it to DJ, I sent it to Kaylee, and I sent it to Riley. And they all were like, oh my God, we're so excited. That's for sure a positive, because if you get any little faint line, if there's 2 lines at all, you are pregnant. And so I was like, oh my gosh, you guys, I see a line. And in the videos, I have my live photos on. You can see my hands shaking and everything. And so I was just looking back at those, and they were like, okay, so now you take a digital. And so I'm running around the house trying to get out of the house to take a digital. I think I have a picture of that. If not, I have like a bunch of other sticks that I peed on as well. Okay, so I take the pregnancy test. I go out that same day and create a really cute box for my husband, and like I put, you know, all the dad stuff in there, and I'm pretty sure it was like before Father's Day too, so I found some really cute stuff in there. And I'll show you guys a picture of the box. I have his reaction on video on my camera and on my phone, and I just didn't feel comfortable sharing that with you guys, and I didn't talk to him about sharing that. He was very excited, and he was very, very happy. Not very surprised, because like I said, we had been planning this from like our very first date. We talked about how we wanted children and everything, so like nothing was like a huge surprise, but he was very, very happy. I told my parents, they were very happy. I told my dad. If you guys don't know, he is an OB/GYN, which is an obstetrician gynecologist. He does both. And so they were both very excited, and he quickly asked, you know, are you taking your prenatals? Which I had been, and you know, we were kind of in the clear, really excited. And then I started ordering things, and like I could see when I got them on my phone, and which is interesting, which I was looking at. So I got my Hatch belly oil. I had been eyeing that belly oil for so long, and I ordered it. So I found out on the 3rd, by June 5th, 2 days later, I had got the belly oil and like 4 or 5 books, which I'll show you guys a picture of the books, and I'll link them all below for you guys. I might need to turn the fan on. I'm hot. By June 9th, I had went to a baby store like down the street from my house. This like a little boutique baby store, so cute. And I was like looking at little clothes, like outfits, and then I was looking at bassinets and stuff. Like obviously I didn't tell anybody but like my mom and my husband. But I was just so excited. Obviously, like if you're trying for this and you really want this and you've been thinking about it your whole life, you're like, oh my gosh, it's finally here. And there's like no air movement at all right now, and I needed some water too. So hopefully, I'm gonna turn this on low, and hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Whew, okay. What happened next? Okay, so my husband's from Ohio, and so we went back to see his parents. I think there was like it was an Irish festival that we went to, and it was like 90, like I swear it was like 99 degrees outside. It was so hot. And I had planned a scan, our first scan ever, because I was about 6 weeks at like a little boutique shop there. I'm sorry about the fan. I really hope it's okay and the audio's fine. I'm gonna try to speak up a little bit. So we got the scan, and she was just kind of like looking around. Obviously we're so excited. And she was kind of looking around, and she couldn't really like find anything. She found the sac, and then she was like, well, I don't hear a heartbeat, but you're only 6 weeks. And I was like, 6 weeks in like at that day, I want to say, or like 6 weeks in one day. And so she was like, it's no big deal, like you just come back and like, you know, we'll hear the heartbeat next time. We're like, oh, like we'll just go somewhere else, you know, because like we're just here visiting family. So she printed out the pictures, which I'll show you guys the pictures, which I thought kind of looked funny to me, but I was just so excited and like very optimistic about them. And I sent them to my dad, and he was kind of like, oh, okay, like make sure you get another scan though. He didn't say like really why, or you know, but he was like very still optimistic, and like very happy and excited for us that we went. And like we were gonna tell his parents, and then we just kind of, I don't know what it was, but we were just like, let's just like wait a little bit. But we were still very, very excited and optimistic. So I went, I'm not exactly sure when. I thought I took pictures of it, but I guess I didn't. I went to another boutique, but this time it was up north from our house, maybe like an hour, and she's a nurse practitioner. And so I was like, oh, this is perfect. And so she scanned me, and she's like, trying to find the heartbeat. But I think she was really hearing my heartbeat, which is like a pretty common thing, you know, if you've ever, you know, watched any videos on it, like mom's heartbeat, and you have like the umbilical cord, which that early you won't hear that, and then baby's heartbeat. And so I think she was just picking up mine. It was like kind of reassuring, and she's like, also come back and, you know, get your HCG. I want to know if it's doubling and stuff like that. So I went and I got more labs. I can't remember what the labs were. I could pull up like an old chart thing to see how they were trending, but like I have no idea. They were pretty high, and like that wasn't alarming at all, but more so like what we were seeing, or like the lack of what we were seeing. And if you guys like, I'll keep the pictures up right now. You're looking for a gestational sac, you're looking for the baby, like a fetal pole, and then the yolk sac off of it. So it says, they say it's like the diamond ring sign. So like the ring is the yolk sac, and then like the diamond sitting up at the top is the baby. And so in mine, I have a yolk sac, and like I have a gestational sac, which is the black thing. Then I have a yolk sac, but there was no baby in there. And so I finally went to the doctor on, I believe it was July 19th, and I found out then, so like a month and some change later, that there was no baby and that there was no heartbeat. And I was absolutely devastated, because obviously, you know, you're optimistic when people are telling you, you know, that you know, it could be this and it could be that, and come to find out it was a blighted ovum. And so like my body was thinking like there was a baby and it was developing and everything, and but there was no baby. It was just like, I don't even know, just the yolk sac, or you know, just the tissues, or I'm not exactly sure. And so that was absolutely devastating news. So for that appointment, my husband came with me. This is probably the first time that I met the doctor that I see too. She was so sweet, and I'm, you know, crying my eyes out, and I can't breathe and stuff, and she's hugging me and just being so kind. And your provider is very, very important in something like that, and your partner as well. And so they were both just wonderful, really, really supportive. And she was like, okay, you know, she kind of let me calm down first, and then I asked, you know, like, so where do we go from here? Like, what do we do? And so she gave me a couple of options. The first one is a DNC, which is a dilatation to dilate the cervix. I don't know why I can't say that right now. To dilate the cervix and curettage. So at the end of your vagina, you have a cervix, which is normally closed. Obviously, when you have a baby that like dilates, or when you're on your period, dilates like a little bit to let the blood out. Baby, for sure, it really dilates. So they would dilate my cervix, and then take an instrument up there and kind of like scrape everything out of there and like expel everything, so that you know, you can start over and try again. And there was no like fetal activity, there's no cardiac activity, there's no baby in there. You're just scraping the lining clean, and then so you can start fresh with a new cycle and try again. So that was my first option. And then the second option she gave me was Misoprostol, which is, it does like a similar thing, but like just in a pill form. So you can take the pills orally or you can insert them vaginally. And so I was like, okay, maybe we should do the DNC. I talked to my dad and he was like, yeah, do the DNC, because I've heard, he's a man, obviously. I've heard that the pill is like really, really painful and it's just like a wild roller coaster. And I was like, okay. So she being my OB, checks her schedule, and there's nothing for a DNC. They were doing something like switching over some system, and she just had no time in her schedule for that. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just go ahead and do it, and we'll just do the pills. Like, it's fine. I just want to start over, and like I just want to try again. Like, all these things take so much time. If you ever tried to conceive, it's like, okay, so I'm gonna do my period, and then I gotta wait 10 days to take the test to find, you know what I mean? It's just like a lot. It's consuming. It really is. And so I was like, okay, let's just take the pills and we'll just start over. So I get the pills. Mind you, my husband is gone. He's like, not gone, but he's across the state and like 4 something hours away. And my dad kept telling me, he's like, you know, it's gonna be rough, it's gonna be rough. I'm like, he's a man, like what does he know? But like, he's been in practice probably for like 35 years at this point. Like, he knows a thing or two. And I was just like, yeah, like I just want to get it over with. Like, I'm gonna be fine. No. So I get the pills from the pharmacy. I get other things as well, like those Chucks pads, which I wish I would have. I'll link them below if you guys are interested in them. But it's almost like a dog pad. Have you seen those like pee pads for dogs? But they have them for humans, like in the hospitals and stuff. So I got a pack of those, the like extra large ones. And then I got some adult underwear in like a bigger size so that they would be like kind of stretchy, but like I needed them to be fitting like in the like crotch area for obvious reasons. I got those 2 things. I brought my heated blanket into this room. I brought everything over here because I always use this bathroom. The guest bathroom is like my bathroom, and so I brought everything in here. What else did I bring? I ordered food. I ordered Wendy's and I got chicken nuggets and fries. And then I brought a bunch of snacks. I had like Heath bars and like water, Gatorade. I brought all that upstairs, and I was like, okay, I'm watching a ton of videos on like how it goes, and it's sounding like really, really rough. And I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this when my husband's gone. But then I'm like, you know, I just kind of want to get it over with, because I think we were going out of town, and I was like, I need to get another scan beforehand. Like, you know, I was just like, let's just do it. And so I go into the bathroom, I wash my hands, or I got gloves as well. I inserted the pills. It says like push them up as far as you can. So I just like pushed them up, and I put on one of those like kind of diaper things. I had already eaten my food. I just like ate a little bit, I think. And then I got into bed and I just kind of waited. And I think it was like an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and I started cramping so bad. When I tell you guys, it was like the most painful thing ever. It was absolutely diabolical. It was awful, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. It was awful. And then what came out of me was even worse. And I like took pictures, but I will not show you guys those pictures. It was like really, really, really graphic, and something that I don't wish on anyone. So at some point I threw up. I was throwing up and like had to go to the bathroom like number 2 at the same time. So I go into the bathroom, like run into there as I'm like crippled and like hanging like over, like hanging like this. I go and make my way to the toilet, and the blood that was coming out of me, it was as if I was like had a full bladder and like was relieving myself, but it was blood instead of urine. It was absolutely awful. That was terrifying. And I was like, wow, I think I'm gonna die. Like, I have no idea what is going on here. This is insane. And my mom, she was like, she kept offering. She was like, you know, I can just come over and come over. And like in hindsight, I kind of wish she would have, because I was a mess. Like, I was absolutely in the worst pain ever, coming from somebody who already has debilitating periods from the beginning. And so I think I said like everything that happened, and it just like went on and on. It felt like it went on and on forever. So I after the whole like expelled into the toilet, that was just blood. And then I changed the adult underwear, went back into the bed. I was going from the bed to the floor. I couldn't get comfortable. I was hot. I was cold. I was having hot flashes. And then I was freezing. I needed the blanket on. No medicine was helping. I have like Tylenol 800s or something like that. Nothing was helping. Not a single thing. And then I'm pretty sure I took some medicine too. And then I just threw it up. I threw up everything. Yeah. So I expelled like one like piece of tissue, and I was like, okay, cool, like we're done. No, couple more hours go by, and then like I got a huge like wave of pain again, and then I felt something else come out. And at this point, I wasn't sitting on the toilet. I just was like in the bed or on the floor. And then I got another like huge chunk out, which it sounds terrible, but that's what it was. And I believe that was like pretty much the end of it. And then I want to say like that hour after that, everything kind of subsided and the pain went away, which was amazing. It was awful. I'm not even gonna lie, it was awful. Okay, so after that, I wore a regular pad, nothing, no tampons, no cups up there, no nothing. I just wore a regular pad for a week. And then I went to my dad's office and got another ultrasound. No, he's not my doctor. No, he did not do the ultrasound. And the ultrasound tech told me, she was like, wow, everything is cleared out. Like, here's your uterus. Like, it looks really good. There's nothing left. You might just, bleed for the next week, which was true. I did bleed for the next week or so. And I just wore like a pad with wings, and like, it was fine. It was uncomfortable. Obviously, it was, the middle of the summer, but it was just for a week, and I was very happy that everything was out, because you hear stories of like, oh, people do all that, go through all that, and then they still have to get the DNC, or the DNC didn't work, and you have to keep going back. So I was very, very grateful and happy that everything was expelled in one go. So after that, my doctor was like, okay, so you got the ultrasound? And I said, yes. I think she wanted my numbers to be like around 5, my HCG. And my dad was like, okay, let's make sure it's 0. But he also was like, you can start again, next month. You can try again next month if you're ready, if you want to. Whereas my doctor was like, I would like you to wait and try again, like do a whole cycle of your period and then try again. So I listened to my doctor. We waited a whole other month, and we didn't get pregnant. I was thinking like, oh, I've been pregnant, my body knows what to do now, so I'll get pregnant right away. And we did not, and it was probably the most frustrating thing I have ever been through. There was a lot of tears, a lot of crying, a lot of misunderstanding from my husband as to like why I was like so upset and so angry. We grew so much in that time period, emotionally, because I needed him in a different way. I was just randomly upset, and I was just watching something the other day about grief and how it comes in waves. I believe that's what it was. I was grieving this baby that I thought I was gonna have, and I had the the due date planned out. I'm pretty sure it was like February 16th or something like that, and I just like was so stuck on what I thought was gonna be, and we weren't getting pregnant, and it was just so frustrating. And thank God for my husband and him like learning and listening and like really, really caring and praying with me and going to church with me. And it was just, the whole thing was sad, and it was like awful, but we grew so much, and I'm very, very grateful that we had that time together, and that we were able to grow together and not apart. So that was wonderful. That was the good that came out of it. Okay, so we waited the month. I got my ovulation strips. I got my pregnancy test again, and like we're trying. Finally, in December, we got pregnant. And then in January, I found out about the pregnancy, and the lines were just like very, very faint, and they really weren't getting any darker as the days were progressing like before. And as somebody who binged watched like all these videos, I was like, oh geez. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't know, I think it's a chemical pregnancy, which is just like your body, I'm not exactly sure, honestly. I'm not even gonna try to make something up. Basically, you like get that you're pregnant, a positive pregnancy test like 1 week, then the next week you get your period. And so I was sending pictures to my doctor at this point of my pregnancy test, and she was like, Sarah, it looks really, really light, let's just do HCG, like, you know, you can go, I put an order in for X amount, like just go. And so I went, and it was like pretty low, and then she was like, okay, I think it was like 19, and then she was like, okay, go again in 2 days. So I went again in 2 days, and it had dropped to like 7, and I was absolutely devastated. But at the same time, I kind of knew when the lines weren't getting any darker that like that wasn't a great sign. Obviously, I was still so devastated and sad. I'm like, what the heck are we gonna do? I'm crying, I'm bawling, and my dad calls me, bless his heart, he's so sweet. He was like, okay, like, you know, I've talked to some colleagues about what's going on, and I think that this is the issue. And you know, he was like explaining to me like how my luteal phase, and I'll put the chart up here, was like shortened. And if it's shortened, that gives my body less time to build up my uterine wall to support a pregnancy. And so he was like, okay, so if we can get you on Letrazole, which is a fertility drug, which I did not want to take, then that might help. I really think this is it. I really think it will fix the issue. And sure enough, we finally were like, okay, yeah, let's do it, like whatever. So as I'm bleeding from the chemical pregnancy, he's like, okay, on day 3 of your period, you have to start taking this medicine. And I was like, you know what? Like, what do we have to lose? Like, let's just try it. Because the next option for me was to go to the fertility clinic and, you know, let's get the eggs, let's get them fertilized and put them, like, I was like ready to do all of those things. And so, yeah, so we take the Letrazole on day 3 of my period. The symptoms were, for me anyway, a really, really bad headache all of the days I took the medicine. I was very, very hungry, and I was exhausted, like beat. The headaches were crazy. The headaches were like kind of scary almost, and I just was chugging water, just downing it, just to make sure that, you know, I was staying hydrated. But so yeah, the Letrazole worked, and there was my HCG, like we got that right away. It was pretty high, and I was like, oh wow, are we having multiples? Like, I was so excited about that, because there's a higher chance of multiples when you take the Letrazole, or there's another one, Clomid. And so yeah, we got pregnant from the Letrazole, and it was probably like one of the happiest and scariest things ever, because on the one hand, you're so excited that you're pregnant, and then on the other hand, you remember what that feels like when someone tells you there's no heartbeat, or, you know, your HCG dropped. Like, it's devastating. And so you kind of like have yourself guarded to any excitement or joy, because you know what that letdown feels like. It's like a knife, you know? Well, I hope you guys don't know. Okay, so after I found out that I was pregnant in February, I took tests like every day, sometimes twice a day, sometimes even 3 times a day, just so that I could see that I was like still pregnant and that it was progressing, that my HCG was getting higher. It gave me like slightly, like a slight peace of mind, knowing that like my HCG was getting higher. So yeah, if you guys aren't familiar with DPO, it's days post ovulation. So I would ovulate on like pretty much like day 14, like the smack dead center of my cycle. And then so from days post ovulation, so ovulate on the 14th, and then like so day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 after the 14th is DPO. So like people can ovulate on different days, and so I took the pregnancy test at 8 DPO, so 8 days post ovulation, and got the faintest line. I remember over here, and I ran into the other bathroom, and I showed my husband. I was like, "See this?" And he's like, "What am I looking at? What am I supposed to see?" and it was just like a really, really faint line. And I was like, well, it's there, you know, that's all that matters, is there's a faint line. And like, I was just holding on to that hope. And then every day I was just praying so hard and taking my test, and it was just getting darker and darker and darker. I was also getting my blood drawn, and my levels were skyrocketing. And then at 6 weeks, I got an ultrasound at my dad's, which was like so nice. It was his same ultrasound tech. And she was like, oh, everything looks so good. I'm so happy for you. And then I went to the doctor, I want to say the next week. And she, y'all, I need a chair in here real bad. The next week, and she saw, you know, the baby again, same thing. Heartbeat was strong. And yeah, we're so blessed, and we're so happy. I finally stopped testing after, I think it was like 21 or 22 DPO, which is insane. I can share like one of my ultrasounds from like 10 weeks with you guys. I was getting more ultrasounds in the beginning at my doctor's office, just because of like my history. But now I'm like on a normal schedule. And I hit 12 weeks. We were just so excited about that. And then every milestone afterwards, and like, you know, we read a book every week, you know, baby is growing this week, they're the size of this. And it's so exciting. It's a blessing, but it's also like very, very scary. And I could not wait for baby to kick. Baby kicked at 17 weeks. I'm like, what was that? Best feeling ever. And then as the kicks grow, every kick, I swear I say, thank you God, every single one. And when they get uncomfortable or painful, I'm gonna say the same thing, because this is what I prayed for. And I'm so grateful. They make me so happy all day. Baby's kicking right now, which is just a huge blessing. And we're so excited. So I do want to talk to you guys about like kind of how the ovulation strips work and the pregnancy test. If you're not familiar, I'm just going to talk about that briefly, and then I'm going to stop yapping. Okay, so the first thing I did was, I want to say I bought it like before our wedding. I got like a fertility book, and then it shows you how to track your what is it called, basal body temperature in there. And it shows you how to check like your cervical mucus, which I didn't do, but I did check my temperature. And so I knew when I was pregnant the first time, and then the third time, because of my temperature, it just stayed up. And I was like, honey, I'm like really hot. I think I'm pregnant. And so, and then like the next day, like every morning I would wake up, he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm checking my temperature. And sure enough, it was right. So if you guys are interested in that, I'll definitely share that book with you guys, and the picture of the book, and then I'll put the link below as well. It's a wonderful book to learn your body, and even if you're not trying to get pregnant, it's like to learn your cycle, so that you know, hey, when this is happening, I'm more fertile, or when this is happening, like maybe I am pregnant. It's a great thing to know. And so I was using that book. I got ovulation strips the first time at Walgreens. They were just, I think they were like yellow. I don't even know the brand. And I would use them twice a day. Not the first thing in the morning, but like in the afternoon, so like 11 or 12, and then one at night. And when you're using ovulation strips, they will always show a second line. So make sure you guys read the instructions carefully. When you get a peak is when it's like super dark, like almost the test line is darker than the control. So at first, when I first took it, I was like, wow, I'm ovulating right now. And it's like, no, read the instructions, Sarah. So if you keep them all, which you should, and look at them all, you can see like when your peak is. And your peak ovulation is like, baby dance that day and the day after, for optimal chances of getting pregnant, I believe. And so I don't want to give you guys any wrong information, but to my understanding, that's how it goes. What else? So I did that multiple times. I ended up using, I believe, the Wanfo brand. They are like super sensitive and pretty affordable, I believe. And so I will link those ovulation strips and pregnancy tests below. So once you ovulate and you get your peak and everything, I stopped taking my ovulation test and I switched to the pregnancy test at 8 days past ovulation. So after I get that peak 8 days later, I started taking pregnancy tests. And then for the pregnancy test, if you see no second line, you're not pregnant. But then if you see any second line, then that is you know, you are pregnant. And so I would just keep taking those and watch those get darker and darker and darker. And then there's something called a dye stealer, where your test line gets darker than the control line. And so that's something that I was looking for. And then I also got some Pregnate tests as well that kind of look like the first response, but they're not first response. I don't recommend these for line progression. I recommend them for, like, you know, hey, I'm pregnant, because you get 30 of them for, I don't even know, I can't remember, but I will link those below too. As you can see in the video, I'm gonna show you guys, you can't really see like a great line progression with them, but you know, I bought them and I wanted to use them, and I will, God willing, use them in the future as well, and they're stored away in there. So I wanted to just explain that really quickly. Okay, so I started this right after I had a chemical pregnancy. I don't know how I'm going to show you guys this. I want to say I want to do it this way. But I got these are Pregnate, but they look like more of like a first response. They do not have the same quality as a first response at all. And I wouldn't even suggest getting these. If you're gonna get a huge thing of first response, do that, because you can't really see like a really great line progression. These are very old. I'm at 12 weeks and I found out at 3 weeks. And so I started at 12 DPO and then went all the way to like maybe 25 or 26. And then these ones, I'm sorry, I'm out of breath. These ones are from the Dollar Tree. What I wanted to do was get more of these. I would say this line progression is better. I should have just went and got more of these instead, and they probably would have been cheaper. I think a bag of 50 of these was like $30. But I'm gonna throw them away because they have started to like yellow and look really, really gross. But I did want to show you guys the line progression. I should have done this way earlier. I was just like I'm just like anxious, like not focusing on it or whatever. So, and I wanted to leave them here, but the bathroom smells like pee and I can't have that. It's gross. So, here's my line progression and we're gonna throw them away. And there's I'm cleaning stuff, but there's baby. Okay, I know I blabbed enough. You guys have been great. If you made it this far, make sure you guys leave a comment down below, or like a prayer for any of the other moms. That would be wonderful, so that the moms can feel really loved and supported in the comments. That would be great. I would really, really appreciate that. I just want to leave you guys like with these words. Before I was struggling, I would say things to people such as like, oh my gosh, when are you having a baby? Or like, when are you having another baby? Or just out of excitement, you know, for them. Not like, you know, to be nosy or to dig or whatever. But I remember going to our family reunion right after we got our ultrasound. We got our ultrasound that said, your womb is clear, it's clean. And then we got in the car and went straight to the family reunion. You know, you're around a bunch of kids and family and stuff like that. And I'm at the age where all of my cousins, like we grew up together, are like the same age. They all have kids, including my brother. And they're all kind of like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, you're next. You're like, you're up or whatever. And the breakdowns that I had that weekend. And I know people aren't doing it maliciously, but you just never know what people are going through or what they have been through or how they got there. And I will always, you know, watch my tongue or, you know, say a prayer or even apologize if those things kind of slip out. And I'm not like shaming anybody for saying those things. Usually it's like out of like good intent, not bad intent, but it's just something to think about, you know, next time you see somebody or, you know, just some words. It feels like a knife coming from somebody, but you know that, you know, 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10, that person is someone that's close to you and that loves you, and they're not trying to hurt you, but it feels, it feels like very, very hurtful. So I'm gonna leave you with that. Thank you guys so much for bearing with me for this whole video. I'm praying for you guys. I love you guys all so much. If I forgot any things that I talked about and I didn't link them below and you guys want that, please let me know, and I will definitely do that. I can make a Amazon storefront of like trying to conceive stuff. Oh, I forgot to tell you that I used like preseed, but it like burned and I never used it ever again. I used the mucinex, maybe that worked, I have no idea. What else did I use? Oh, a drink. It was like a red drink. I drank that from my period all the way to like 4, 5, 6 weeks pregnant. It was pomegranate juice, cherry juice, I want to say in coconut water or just regular water every single day, at least one of those. And like the proportions were just like a splash of this, a splash of this. You guys know how I cook. It's the same thing. And it's supposed to help your uterine lining. And so I can link that below to or put the recipe for you guys. I believe that's what it was. It was just those 3 things. And yeah, so let me know. I can make my Amazon storefront for like a trying to conceive section as well. I love you guys so much and thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for, you know, all the encouraging comments and all the congratulations. It means so much. Just you have no idea. It means even more because of what we've been through and what we've been silent about, and you know what our friends have seen us go through, and our parents, and it's really, really, really encouraging. And if you guys are in a season of waiting, I'm praying for you and I love you guys so much. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.